The U.S. Conference of Mayors is addressing the nation's immigration crisis. New York, D.C., Chicago, Miami, just some of the major cities that are seeing a relentless surge in the number of people flooding into the U.S. illegally, some by foot, others by car or by boat. And the effects are costly. Joining us right now, the president of the Conference of Mayors, the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez. Good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, when I think of immigration in Cuba, I remember, and I think a lot of people remember the story of Adrienne Gonzalez, that little boy who came to America on that aluminum boat where almost everyone else on the boat died on the journey, like so many refugees from the Caribbean. There was so much compassion at that time. Do you believe there's the same level of empathy today for people who are coming into our country illegally?
You know, I think there's a tremendous amount of empathy. I think the issue isn't so much empathy. I think the issue is, you know, it creates a tremendous strain on cities across America, right? In the case of Miami, you have a strain on our public school systems. You have a strain on our homeless system. So I don't think that there's a lack of compassion per se. I just think, you know, cities across America are asking for help and crying for help, and understanding that, you know, our immigration system has to be legal and orderly, which it is not at this particular moment, and there has to be a coherent policy hemispherically to prevent so much immigration pressure coming from the country of Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, which are all communist countries, and of course countries like Haiti, Mexico, etc.
And we can't change the governments, and we're certainly not going to change them overnight, but all of these people flooding in, it's unprecedented, the number of people who are coming into the U.S. How costly has it been for Miami right now?
It is unprecedented, and it's gotten worse under this administration. I think the message that's being sent is, you know, that we're not going to necessarily help try to change the situation in any of these countries or create more prosperity in our hemisphere through, for example, nearshoring. But it is costing our cities. It's costing our cities in terms of the tens of thousands of children that we have to school. We've seen the largest increase in enrollment year over year in our public school system. It burdens our hospital system. We have one of the largest, if not the largest, public hospital system in the country, which does hundreds of millions of dollars of indigent care. And then, of course, our homeless system. Like I said, we want to be a city that takes care of the least, the last, and the lost. But that's a tremendous cost to us, and it makes it harder with this immigration crisis.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned the education system. Around 10,000 immigrant children were enrolled into Miami-Dade County schools just in the past 6 months. Governor Ron DeSantis has received a lot of heat for some of the ways that he's addressed this crisis. Sending about 50 people to Martha's Vineyard last year by plane, that was a very costly trip. He activated the National Guard to assist in the numbers of people who are coming in by boat to Miami. How do you support what he's done and how he's handled things?
Yeah, look, I think governors and mayors have a limited role in these issues. I think in his particular case, he's decided to try to do things that, you know, sort of send a message, if you will. You know, my particular preference politically is to try to find a solution. And I think it's important that we find a solution in terms of what's happening in the southern border, in terms of the things that are happening in Miami, and in terms of the things that are happening in this hemisphere. You know, we have China that's a rising power, and a lot of our supply chain is tied up in China. And we should think of comprehensively nearshoring our supply chain, which we saw was incredibly vulnerable during COVID. As a means of trying to create more prosperity in this hemisphere and depressure some of our immigration pressure that we're having from south of the U.S.
In terms of the mayor's conference today, do you think that there will be solutions brought to the table, or will it be a lot of posturing?
I hope not. I hope it won't be a lot of posturing. We are meeting with the Secretary of State Blinken in just a couple of hours, and certainly I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of concern that's expressed to the Secretary of State. And mayors don't typically, you know, we don't typically posture. We typically get things done, but certainly in a partisan world, there's a ton of posturing that happens, and it's really unfortunate.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.